Hey, how's it going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Python tutorial. In today's tutorial, we're going to be talking about operators and input. In input, we're going to talk about how we can take input from the user and display it on the console. But first, let's talk about operators. Now, operators should be a very familiar term from math. Now, operators basically are just the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division signs. So for the addition operator, we have the plus sign. For the subtraction operator, we have the dash. For the multiplication operator, we have the asterisk. And for the division operator, we have the /. Now you can see here these three other unusual operators. Now these are also pretty basic, but they are a bit weird. But first, let's show some code about how these operators work. Then I'll get into these three operators down here. So for the addition operator, let's say we have a is equal to 1, b is equal to 2, and then we'll just do print a plus b. Now we save this, and then in our terminal we can do Python operators.py, and you can see we get 3. Now let's talk about the subtraction. So let's say a is equal to 5, b is equal to 3, and here let's just do a minus b, and we should get 2. So we just do Python operators.py, and we get 2. Now for the multiplication operator, let's just define a to be 2, b to be 9, and we just do a times b, and we get 18. So let's see, Python operators.py, and we get 18. And then in division, let's just do a is equal to 50, b is equal to 2, and let's just do a divided by b, so 50 divided by 2. Now we just save this, and Python operators.py, and we get 25.0. Now you see we have a decimal point. Now that's because when you use the division operator in Python, it returns a float value instead of an integer value. Now let's talk about these three unusual operators. Now what is integer division? Integer division, or also known as floor division, basically divides the number, but if it's a float value, it's going to round that float value to the nearest integer. Let's say we divided and we got like 9.5. When we so what integer division would do is that it's going to turn that 9.5 into 9. It's just rounding that 9.5 down to the nearest integer, which is 9. Then we have the modulus operator. The modulus operator is a percentage sign. What that does is that it basically gives us a remainder. Next we have exponents, so that's just a number to different numbers like power, so like 1 to the 5th power, it's still gonna be 1, but basically it's just 2 asterisk signs. So let's actually do something about integer division first. So let's say we have a is equal to 15, b is equal to 2. We save this, and now what should we get? We should get 7, right? So let's see, let's run this, and we need to add another /. So we run this operators.py, and we get 7. Now that's because it divides it, so 15 divided by 2 is 7, but it's gonna round that float value down to the nearest integer. Let's do something about the modulus operator. So let's say we have a is equal to 45, b is equal to 6. Let's save this, and actually we need to put the percentage sign here. So this is known as a mod b. Mod basically means modulus, and it's just giving us a remainder. So let's just do Python operators.py, and we can get 3. Now 3 is the remainder we get when you divide 45 by 6. Next up we have exponentiation. So for a, let's say we have 2, b, let's say we have 5, right? And let's just do a to the 5th power, which is 2 to the 5th power. So now we save this, and we do Python operators.pi, and we can get 32. Now that's because a is equal to 2, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is equal to 32. Now let's talk into inputs. So I'm just going to go over here to my input file. I just created this beforehand and I just saved it into my tutorial folder. So let's say we want to take input from the user and we want to display it on the console. So how can we do that? First, what we can do is that we can create a name variable which is going to be equal to this function called input. Now what input is that it allows us to write in the console, and it stores what we wrote for later use, and it takes in a string as a value, as a parameter. So we can just do, so let's ask the user what their name is. So we can do, what is your name? And then to print the user's name, what we can do is that we can do print hello. Then here we have this comma, which is separating the variable from this string here. That's called hello. So we just write name. We save this. I'm just going to create a new terminal, and I'm just going to do Python input.py, and let's say, and now it's asking us what is your name. So in this case, I'm just going to say Arnav, and it says hello Arnav. Perfect. Now that was pretty simple. Now let's combine what we learned from operators and inputs. So let's say we want to find the sum of two numbers. How can we do that? Well, we can create two numbers called num1 is equal to input, and then here we'll just say we'll just say pick a number. Now this will prompt us to type in a number into the console. Then we can say for num2, since we're going to be adding two integers, we need two numbers. We can do input pick another number. Right, then what we can do is that we can print num1 plus num2. So we can save this. Then in our input file and run it, Python input.py, it says pick a number. So I'm just going to pick something like 60, then 40, and you can see here we get 60 and 40, but it's not added, just right next to each other. Now why is that? Since it's a string, the numbers that we're typing there aren't actually integers, they're just string values. And remember, you can store integers as strings, right? So it's just combining them together, it's not really adding them. So one way to go around this is that we can convert this input function into an integer. So how we can do that is that we can do int, and we can just add int around the input function, right? So we can do int, and then we can save this. And now if we try running this again and put.py, let's just pick the same number, 60, 40, and you can see we get 100 because 60 plus 40 is 100. Now you can just do this with everything else. Like you can subtract them, you can multiply them, you can divide them, you can integer divide them, you can the remainder, and you can even do exponents, right? So that was it, guys, for today's tutorial. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment down below if you found this video helpful.